like to start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing for the invocation, please.
Dear Lord, may your goodness and eternal love be present among us today. We ask for your blessing on this meeting. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Again, I want to appreciate everybody for being here. And please take a seat. And we'll go ahead and call to order the workshop. We all know what this is about and why we're here. And I want to take a moment to just appreciate each of you. I can imagine the work that goes into something like this, and the board doesn't take that lightly. We want to appreciate each of you and your firm's interest and what it is that we're doing here. As you know, big decision for the RMA and for the board of directors here, one that we're not taking lightly. This is, a quest for a long-term partnership, one that we recognize that y'all have been involved in. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here. Your experience precedes you. We've got to read about that. I appreciate the documentation that y'all provided in the first round, or in the initial round, I guess, when we got started here. And it's certainly eye-opening for me. Y'all are probably aware that your chairman sits here. Welcome, Director. We just got kicked off. This is a process for myself personally in terms of getting up to speed with the business of the RMA and what it is that we all do together as a community here. And so again, I just want to say thank you. I wish obviously the very best to each and every one of y'all. And with that, I think Pilar already gave some of kind of the groundwork of how we'll get going here. And so I'll turn it over to you, Pilar. First order of business.
Yes, sir. Chairman, directors, under your workshop, item number 1 is interview of top-ranked firms to provide environmental and engineering services for Section A West, Section C, E, and F of the Hidalgo County Loop System. We'll be conducting interviews of the top 3 respondents, which are Consor, Cobb Finley, and NTEC. At this time, I'd like to ask Cobb Finley and NTEC to step out of the room and for Consor to present to the board.
Okay. Very good. No, no problem.
I didn't account for that holiday traffic.
Yeah, there's more. We stuttered a little bit, but we just got going. Okay, so we have, maybe go ahead. This is Consor. Introduce yourself and turn over the presentation to you.
So do you want to start the clock now or? All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Sandeep Patel. I'm your project manager. With me today is Javier Martinez Jr. He's the deputy manager for the project. And I'll get into our experience, my experience. I have 30 years of experience working on multitude of projects, all with the same firm. So I've seen projects not only through planning, but through design and construction. So I know the risks and the pitfalls that we can avoid on this project. I've led 10 plus schematic and environmental projects in urban as well as rural interstates. And I have helped avoid pitfalls on those projects as well. I've managed projects for the GEC as well as for Camino Real RMA, for Harris County Toll Road Authority. So I have that experience and knowledge. My communication skills, I'm a consensus builder. I've presented at various town halls, events, as well as for various organizations. And what you'll see at the bottom is my reference from one of the consultants we work with. High quality plans in a short time frame, worked with Text.pm as well as other higher ups. First project I wanted to discuss, very similar, is I-10, 20 miles of it, going from 4 to 6 lanes, two-way to one-way frontage road conversions, where I managed everything from schematic, environmental, through PS&E. Some of the similarities, this had 11 interchanges on this project. We made sure that we provided safety. Some of the constraints included cemeteries, parks, railroads. We had 100 plus right-of-way acquisitions on the project, but I provided right-of-way testimony for. And I made sure that I managed 7 sub-consultants with a thorough quality management plan as well as project management plan. Also made sure that I engaged environmental through every step of the way. And we received environmental clearance on this project last year, well, actually in March of 2025. And some of the risks that we mitigated on this project, this had the Houston toad habitat as well as the monarch butterfly. We had formal coordination with US Fish and had a reasonable assurance memo, which helped expedite the environmental process. For safety and mobility, we had a heat map of all the accidents in the area. We looked at that. We suggested some realignments, some ramp configurations, as well as interchanges to improve safety on the corridor. Public involvement, we had public meetings as well as one-on-one meetings with 100 plus of those property owners, and that helped with smooth transition, getting all the right-of-way acquired. In fact, 70 of the parcels are already acquired now. Recent experience is with IBTC, which is a part of the HCRMA loop system here, where we did schematic refinements for this project for TechStart, 13 miles, which ties to 493, I-2, and 365. Some of the similarities, changes to TechStart manual, changes to environmental requirements, and how we navigated those. This also gives me recent experience with IBWC coordination, irrigation and drainage district coordination. We also coordinated with the Donner Reservoir. Some of the changes we made, operational and safety improvements at I-2, especially for the interim condition, alignment shift to accommodate drainage, as well as adjust our profile so we don't have flooding during regular events. We had stopping site distance issues at 493 that we addressed from a safety perspective, and we avoided an individual permit by adjusting the bridge limits at the Donner Reservoir. Some of the other projects that I've led schematic and environmental services on, US 190, where we had the same sub-consultant ICF, where we avoided core permits and core lands. We also had I-10 at Texas-Louisiana border, where we got the individual permit from the core on time. And then on I-45, where we had 50 plus right-of-way parcels, where we implemented innovative intersections. Key staff experience. Something I wanted to highlight, we are local experience, local team, and we are involved with the local communities. We have 25 plus people right here in the Valley. We have 320 in Texas. We have 1,700 nationwide. So we have the local resources and the depth of talent needed for this project. Our sub B2Z has 65 local, as well as RODS has 10 survey crews and 3 SU crews for this project. The way we have organized this team, the top team that you see will lead and design 2 segments, and the bottom team will support and design 2 segments so that we can adjust schedules and resources as needed.
Good evening. My name is Javier Martinez, and I'll be serving as the Deputy Project Manager. I bring over 17 years of engineering experience, both in planning and design, 8 years with TechStop Park District, 6 years when I started the office here in McAllen, and over 40 years as a Proud Valley resident. I led over 20 PS&E and schematic projects, including US 83 La Jolla Relief Route, and currently serving as the DPM for IBTC project. This HCRMA loop is a once-in-a-generation project, and I am fully committed in delivering these corridors alongside with our team. Gentlemen, I live here. I live here, and there's no better satisfaction than designing a corridor that is going to improve the infrastructure for our communities. An extension to US 83 or HCRMA loop is US 83 La Jolla Relief Route is a project that I worked on all three phases. We're going to face the same challenges on the loop, across all the loop, including coordinating with stakeholders, irrigation district, utilities, environmental constraints, right-of-way displacements or property displacements, and adjacent project coordination. One key point to point out here is that the relief route is a key connector to sections A and C, which I am very familiar with in the area.
For environmental, we have ICF leading the charge with Dean and Doug, both having significant experience in the valley, while Doug's experience is more with HCRMA on the IBTC and 365. Dean has led State Highway 68 and 69 connectors for TxDOT. So we have that solid mix of TxDOT and HCRMA experience. 365, as you know, was a EA, and 68, the EIS was led by Dean. The record of decisions came in May of 2025, so very recent experience. Something unique for our consort team is we also have in-house environmental resources. Eddie Winkler with us today. She's got 27 years of experience. And most importantly, she worked on State Highway 99. It's a 140-mile loop around Houston, very similar to what we have here, where she had 7 EISs that she led.
I'm Brian Clark. I'm the alternative analysis lead, and I've got over 25 years of experience. I've developed $3.5 billion worth of alternative analysis projects, just like the Hidalgo County loop system. I use OpenRoads Designer and innovative 3D technology to both analyze the corridor and also easily convey that to the public. And Zena Schwartz will support our alternative analysis, and she has over 29 years of TxDOT project planning and traffic experience. My Loop 9 project is just like the Hidalgo County loop system. Mobility corridor, new location, 35 miles, multiple alternatives, travel through different communities and population densities. For this project, I led a comprehensive alternative analysis, immersive public involvement, coordinated with major stakeholders like the railroad, and I developed a program of projects, including prioritizing individual projects. For Loop 9, I developed a defensible corridor that was easily transitioned to the schematic and environmental phase, and I reduced the overall project cost by $3 billion.
And I'll be your schematic task lead. I bring over 25 years of experience, including working with TxDOT and IBWC. I've delivered multiple schematic and NEPA projects totaling over $1 billion. And I've also have experience working on US-Mexico freight corridor projects. I also have extensive public involvement experience, having worked with limited English proficiency communities. And we'll have Mr. Chris Bergeon as schematic design support for this project. So Border Highway West is a 9-mile toll facility that has exactly the same challenges that this project does. First, we had to determine the preferred alternative as well as the ultimate right-of-way footprint based on environmental and engineering constraints, as well as traffic projections and connectivity to existing roadways. We also coordinated with stakeholders such as U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and IBWC. I implemented a bilingual public involvement plan in order to ensure that we involve all the communities into the project. We ended up receiving a record of decision for the EIS in less than 4 years with 145 acres acquisition and 35 displacements.
For hydraulics, we have David Zulki and Jinwei Kui. Both have over 25 years of experience working on numerous TxDOT projects, very similar to this. Recently, they completed State Highway 99, segment B1, which is on a new location, flat area, similar coordination issues. Both are experts in HECRAS 1D and 2D modeling. Jinwei recently completed the State Highway 107 project here in the FAR district, where she coordinated with IBWC, with the irrigation and drainage districts, and made sure there were no project impacts. I-35 corridor, this was a schematic drainage project for the Wichita Falls district that David led. Was 21 miles, where we designed for interim and ultimate solutions, which we anticipate on this project. There were 54 crossings, FEMA Zone A and Zone AE crossings, as well as core coordination. He completed the comprehensive corridor drainage report for this project in a record time. For public involvement, we have Robert Ryan as well as Martin Bartlett, both with more than 18 years of experience. similar experience because Robert's worked with most of the projects with ICF here in the Valley, and Martin for cross-border projects, especially in the El Paso and Laredo area. Getting into technical approach on how we will implement our experience. First of all, this is, like Robert said, one of the most important projects for the region for HCRMA. We realize that and we are committed to that. We are going to make sure that we deliver to your visions, goals, and missions by implementing technology and innovation everywhere, step of the way, provide safe corridor. We are communicative and collaborative with the communities that we live in, and we provide an environmentally friendly product. There is a quick roadmap that shows this process, starting with alternative analysis to geometric schematic to approvals. Every step of the way, we'll make sure that the public is engaged and our environmental team is engaged. As we develop different alternatives, we want to make sure we are considering traffic, we are considering all the input from various cities and agencies, and we are taking those recommendations back to the board and providing our recommendation on what the preferred alternative should be, getting board approval and moving forward with the schematic. As we move forward with the schematic, we'll be following TxDOT and FHWA standard operating procedures so that we don't have any issues in getting environmental clearance on time, making sure all the decisions are recorded, and get TxDOT and FHWA approval on time. On public involvement, to me, this is one very critical element of the project. We will have a public involvement plan, which is not only meeting the NEPA requirements, but it is also concise, consistent, and transparent, so we gain support from the communities. We'll be engaging with the higher-ups, elected officials, to make sure we have project champions for project support. We'll be making sure that we implement high-touch opportunities like one-on-one meetings like I had on I-10 to gain public support. Other high-touch opportunities could be pop-up booths at community events, as well as tailgate meetings at farms and ranches. We'll make sure it's bilingual. We are using tools like e-blast and social media, in addition to all the regular communication strategies.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Carrie Winkler. I'm going to briefly go over the environmental constraints and the environmental approach on this project. We will be early, continuous, and proactive. We did some constraints analysis, and specifically on Section A, we know there's an area of some multiple displacements. We'll do an alternative analysis how we can avoid that. And then be close to the Rio Grande River, there's a lot of state parks and wildlife refuges, so we'll work with the design team to minimize impacts. And if we cannot, we'll work with those agencies and get through the evaluation, Section 4F evaluation. Other constraints that are common to all four sections: dense areas of oil and gas, numerous stream crossings, historic structures and irrigation canals, potential archaeological sites, and potential federally and state protected species. Here's just a quick flow chart on the NEPA implementation. Go through the alternative analysis, a thorough alternative analysis, and omit as many of the major constraints that we can. And then through that helps us determine, working with doing scoping with TxDOT, if this project is going to be a NEPA EIS, environmental impact statement, or a NEPA EA. Obviously, we would prefer to go to the EA, and most importantly, I could say, is to, throughout, if either one, is maintain a decisional document for the potential administrative record to minimize the risk for you as the RMA if there should be any legal concerns. So, and I did that for the Harbor Bridge EIS in Corpus Christi, and that process for the administrative record is used by TxDOT for this day.
Hi, my name is Zena Schwartz. Traffic forecasting and segment prioritization is going to be critical for this project because it's going to inform our your toll revenue, and also try and limit your financial risks for the RMA. We are uniquely qualified to handle this because we're currently working with the MPO to update the traffic demand model with the IBTC corridor. Traffic forecasting is also going to inform our interim and ultimate roadway configurations. In addition, we're going to be looking at any state and federal legislation that might affect freight traffic across the border. We'll do a comprehensive safety and traffic analysis and look at innovative intersection designs to make sure we have a very safe and a safe corridor. We'll also do a complete toll revenue study along with a phased financial implementation plan that prioritizes segments to make sure we're delivering mobility and the maximum toll revenue for the RMA.
Our team has extensive alternative alignment analysis experience evaluating different alignments and reducing impacts. The green alignment on the bottom is from the Section A latest HCRMA's strategic plan. And we know that's a priority for the community. And in this location, it goes through it impacts two neighborhoods, Tanglewood and Rotama Village. It also impacts the Mission Fire Station number 6. We evaluated publicly available data, including the Hidalgo County Appraisal District, and we were able to come up with a couple of options using 75-mile-an-hour geometry that maintain access to these communities, but eliminating those displacements I just mentioned. These options also eliminated properties owned by Veterans Land Board, Hidalgo County Irrigation District, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife. These are only a couple of options. We'll continue to evaluate options all throughout the loop system, and we're going to keep public involved. We're going to coordinate with major stakeholders, and we're going to develop a defensible corridor for the HCRMA.
I think that
design.
that gets us.
Yeah, we are going to implement open roads design, which is something we implemented on IBTC as well as I-35. What that helps with is 3D visualization and better conflict resolution early in the game so that we minimize delays and potential impacts later down the road. This also helps with right-of-way determination. We know we'll be going through large properties. We want to make sure that we maintain access and discuss access concerns and their operational concerns with us before we set these alignments and access points.
Like task lead, talk briefly about drainage. As we all know, storms are intensifying, so setting flows early on is critical. We'll look at the Atlas 15 updated rainfall information, so we set the right-of-way corridor early, make sure the ultimate crossings are sized. This project goes out past 2033. Make sure there's no impacts to adjacent property owners, and we'll coordinate early with the drainage districts and irrigation districts and Corps of Engineers as needed.
Utilities, as we know, can cause delays, and we know there's oil and gas activity as well as transmission lines. These are not only high cost, but also long lead. So we want to consider these as we come up with our alignments. Right-of-way surveying and mapping, this is all on a new corridor. There's going to be a ton of that. Making sure that we are getting accurate abstracting and we are keeping records of the quality of that documentation is important. I'll be the primary point of contact. Javier will be the secondary, and we'll make sure we have a project implementation plan that also implements quality control on the project, which includes a 5-step process. We have Candido Bocanegra, that's there for constructability reviews. He'll make sure that he provides that constructability review so we don't have any surprises on the right-of-way as well as on environmental document. Finally, I'm responsible for the quality. I'm your project manager, and I'm here to deliver this project for you.
Thank you, Sandeep. I think we're at the time limit, and we've got 10 minutes for questions. So I'll turn it over to directors. Questions?
There was a mention of collaboration with legislation or legislators and staying on top of what's moving or not moving. What is that like, or who is responsible for that?
There are a couple of different things. Zina talked more about on the traffic side. You know, we have the USMCA, and there could be changes to that could impact traffic patterns. We have Sanjay Ram from our team that used to be chairman of the Metro Board. He has very one-on-one connections with some of the TxDOT commissioners, and we just stay up to date in terms of what are the geopolitical changes that are occurring that can impact us over time. So it'll be something that I'll be looking out for, our a public involvement specialist from Houston. That
Yeah,
answers your
I have
question.
another question.
Go. Yes.
One of my big concern always on projects is, I know they're hard to determine how long this is going to take, but I always appreciate to be able to get some kind of a guesstimate and being able to understand at what percent this particular project you're at, where you're at, and then keep us informed as to where we're at so that we won't get delayed any more than we have to. So that's usually one of my biggest concerns is not knowing where we're at and how far we're at. We can be at 72%, but we don't know what that 72% means. 72% today or 72% of the total project from X days?
Yeah, I'm sure that's a concern, and we work with multiple entities. In the project management plan, there is a communication plan where we'll be coming and giving you monthly updates. And one of the reasons we have chosen this team is because we don't know the timeline of these projects could get extended or shortened based on funding availability, toll revenues, etc. So I've gotten commitment from each team member to be here, and we have a backup team, Team B, that can support that. But to answer your question, it all boils down to clear and concise communication and building that trust with each other so that you know where we are and we are going to not have any surprises for you. One of the things I do when I do my progress report is what are the impacts to right-of-way, utilities, cost, and schedule, and why. And some of the decisions might come from stakeholders, cities, whether it's drainage or irrigation districts. How does that impact our project in terms of cost, right-of-way, environmental? We'll be very clear in communicating that to you, and that's what going to help us build trust with each other as we go through this process.
And usually in a timely fashion. I know the challenges that come with some of the entities here that sometimes don't cooperate as fast as we'd like them to on it, but certainly appreciate communication.
Absolutely.
Question?
Yeah, historically, and I understand you can't give us an estimate right now on how long this project would take, but historically, how percentage-wise, if you can give us an estimate, how many projects have you done that came in on time or under time, and how many have come in overtime? And second part of that question is how many of those overtimes have ended up in litigation?
So I'll answer the easy part first. In terms of litigation, knock on wood, we haven't had that issue. The I-10 project that I mentioned to you earlier, that is a $900 million project that we got. TxDOT started that project. They had funding issues. They slowed us down. The next fiscal year, they said we have $8 million of budget. We want you to finish this. We finished it on time for them. That's one of the reasons they pick us over and over. On Houston District, the 610 59 interchange that I read the quote from, that was a project that came in 0.5% under the cost. Then the US 190 project that I mentioned, where we worked with ICF, where it was over a dam, that project actually came in. We had, I think, 23% higher cost on that project. And so we had to dig into what happened and why, because we had talked to different contractors to get their input. One of the challenges on that was just the risk associated with working on core property next to a park, making sure there's no impacts to the park. So again, we've seen all these projects from planning, design, and construction. We know where the pitfalls can be, and we generally discuss those as lessons learned in our meetings so that next time around, we don't have that same challenge. Because that was something, we looked at all the average bid prices. We talked to contractors. So we thought we knew we had a good estimate, right? But the contractor comes back with a higher cost. And when we talked to the contractor, the reason he gave was the risk associated with it. So how do you factor in that risk, especially when you have environmentally sensitive areas? And that's something that we need to build. We also recently started a independent estimation service. So we have those folks looking at like what are the trends in the industry. Like if you look at the last 4 months, the tech start letting is lower than like almost 10% or so lower than engineers estimate. So it's a good trend, a good time to get your projects out for construction. But that's just something we always keep a watch on.
One more question.
If you could you tell us a little bit? We'd like to know who we're working with. Can you tell us a little bit about your company culture, how you get involved with the communities that you're actually working in, and maybe what makes you in that aspect stand out from maybe some of the other engineering firms that we're going to visit today?
Absolutely. So company culture, we are based on grit, collaboration, and being responsive. Okay. That's something that's ingrained in everything that we do. When we choose leaders, when we choose new staff, that's the qualities we look for. In terms of engaging with local communities, that's something we are very proud of. In fact, 20 years ago, we started the office in El Paso, and Jesus was there. And we made a commitment to the community and to TechStart there saying, we're going to grow this office and grow our local talent. And that right now is the second biggest office for us in Texas. Right here, Javier started this office 6 years ago. We have built a team of 25 professionals. I think we are the largest transportation team right here in the Valley. And our plan is to keep growing. You know, TechStart slowed down some projects here. So we have half that team right now engaged on projects in other parts of Texas as well as in Georgia. But that's the benefit we have as a big firm. We can distribute work and make sure that we invest in the local communities. You know, Javier, he takes a lot of pride in this community. We are here to support him. I'm always down for project meetings, like whenever we were working on IBTC. Some of the just wanted to mention some of the community events that we have participated in locally. In the meantime, Javier, if you want to mention anything on this.
Definitely. So I'm big on giving back to the community. I'm big on participating with the community. I've here just locally, again, I go through, multiple counties, cities, kind of just, I'm the one that's knocking on the doors. I want to be part of the community. I want to be part of the growth. That is something that I enjoy. Get satisfaction personally because I was part of this team. I was part of this. That is my satisfaction. Here on this image, I mean, we got a certificate here from PSJA. We've also supported the local talent with PSJA Alamo High School, giving back to the community, assisting Cameron County Precinct Number 4 with back to school supplies, and back with TechStart as well with Adopt a Highway, cleaning a highway 2 miles. This was in McCall Road from Nolana Road from McCall to all the way to I-69C. So
Thank you.
it's hard work trying to clean the community here. I mean, we go when we walk back after cleaning, all of a sudden we see a banana peel, we see a Coke, and it's just but it's something that we love to do. Just
I
give back to the
appreciate that.
community.
Thank you, Javier, and also thank you, Sandeep. I think we're at our time. Pilar, again, on behalf of the RMA board, I thank you for your interest in the project, for your time that you put into this. Of course, we wish you all the best. You're a member of our community, and we certainly want good for you. And we're going to move on and go to the next folks out there. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Next is,
Finley.
yeah. Finley, right?
Chairman Directors, the next firm up will be Cobb Finley.
Mhm. Where are they from? You're keeping the clock
Yes, sir.
for us, okay. I don't want to have to. Yeah. Welcome, Cobb Findley. Again, just a quick reminder, we've got a 20-minute presentation, and then we'll allow 10 minutes for questions and answers. And we certainly appreciate your interest and you being here, and so we'll go ahead and turn it over to you. We've got a hard copy as well as a presentation up here to follow along with.
Good evening, Chairman, Directors. First of all, thank you very much for allowing us to present to you on this important and challenging project. We look forward to assisting you and being an extension of your staff on this project. My name is Homer Basan. I'm with Cobb Finley. I am the project manager on this project. I have 39 years of experience, total, 33 with TxDOT, 6 of them as a consultant with Cobb Finley. I'm a lifelong Hidalgo County resident. On the right side of the slide are my similar projects in the area, and I'll go over them later on. I'm a former TxDOT Director of Transportation Planning and Development, where I was responsible basically for all project development areas prior to construction, such as environmental planning, right-of-way, utilities, acquisition, design, and consultant management. This is the key staff on the project that we'll be using. So we have Dean Tesmer will be the environmental lead, Danny Everett, the schematic lead, Kyle Sunday, the surveying lead, and Sandy Curry, the SU lead. All have local experience in Hidalgo County, all have worked with each other. And of note, Kyle Sunday is a licensed state land surveyor. We have 2 of them in Cobb Finley, and there are very few of them statewide. And this may come into play on sections A West and F. I'll go over their similar projects also later on in the presentation. I have developed a team with a deep bench of resources that has a proven record of developing projects such as the county loop sections. The benefits of our team is that we're a local consultant. We're committed to the RMA. We have in-house schematic design, utility coordination, and design, surveying and mapping, SU, and right-of-way services. Altogether, our 4 task leads and the Cobb Finley leadership team have over 200 years of collective experience. And with me here is Dan Worth, who is our project principal, and also Mark Lawrence, who is our QA/QC manager. This is a listing of all the firms in our team. We're the prime, Cobb Finley. We'll be in charge of project management, schematic design, and surveying and SU. Of note, of our 8 firms in our team, 5 of them have local offices here in Hidalgo County. Also of note, and you look on the right side of the slide, it shows the number of projects that we have worked on with each firm in the past. So we have a good working history with each of the members. In total, also among our team, we have 263 employees that are available in our team that could be a resource, and they have expertise. Now that I've introduced our team of experts, I'd like to share our understanding of the purpose and need for the loop system. The purpose and need statement is extremely important because it'll be what drives the project. All the alternatives will be evaluated against that. The primary purpose and need that we see on this project is improving the safety and regional mobility. It'll minimize congestion. It'll facilitate the movement of freight truck traffic and hazardous materials throughout the area. And it'll support also, these loop segments will support the official designated TxDOT hurricane evacuation routes. And by doing that, it'll serve the public interest by improving the quality of life for the residents here. It'll also support the economic growth and the resiliency of the area. It'll provide a future-proof design for long-term durability, such as for flood protection. And we understand that the RMA is interested in considering these loop projects for toll viability. They want to keep that as a possibility for tolling. As we step back and looked at the system as a whole, we identified several key considerations that will need close evaluation to determine the best alignment and configuration across all the sections. Our first key consideration is land use and acquisition needs. Here on the slide, it shows the corridors and the land uses that we'll be encountering there. So that'll be one of the things that we look at, exactly how are we impacting the land use that is out there. The next key consideration is coordinating with the state and local governments to see what they have in their planned improvements coming up. In this case here, this is a TxDOT long-range plan map that shows their major thoroughfares coming up. And it shows the loop segment in black there. And it shows that we'll be coordinating with TxDOT on all the projects that affect the loop. Drainage, like we all know here, is an extremely important consideration in all the projects. You know, it seems like every year we get an extreme flooding event. This year in March, we had one that occurred not only in Hidalgo County, but also in Cameron County. So here's the network of the drainage system that for Hidalgo County Drainage District number 1. We'll be coordinating closely with them, whether we add new outfall ditches or we use some of theirs, or if we need to upgrade any of theirs. And also we need detention facilities as part of the project. Utilities are going to be an important part also as well. During our preliminary research, we found that the following utilities shown on the map may be encountered on the loop sections, such as electric transmission lines, gas pipelines, electric transmission poles, gas wells, and irrigation districts are found throughout the area. Other key factors that will significantly impact the success of the loop system include funding. We'll be doing a financial plan in which, like I mentioned earlier, we'll be including that toll and revenue study as a possible mechanism. Public involvement will be very significant within these loop segments. We'll be developing a detailed public involvement plan, a PIP. All the information down here on all these projects needs to be bilingual format, and we'll likely be using virtual and in-person meetings, such as what TxDOT has done since the pandemic, and it's increased participation significantly. Coordination with stakeholders is going to be key also. And the last 3 bullets there on the slide, these are what we call long lead coordination items. And we'll be dealing closely with FHWA, with the utility owners and the irrigation districts, and also with the Rio Valley switching company. I will now ask my colleague Danny Everett to step through the technical requirements that support the development of your system projects.
Thank you. As Homer mentioned, I will be your schematic design task lead. With Dean Tesmer, our environmental task lead, I will begin evaluating each section of the loop system and the various environmental constraints and considerations that drive conceptual design that are very important on projects like this. Items that we will be looking at, we'll look at community impacts, waters of the U.S. We've listed some threatened and endangered plant and animal species that are potential in the corridor. One thing of note, should we encounter some of these, we could use innovative things like wildlife crossings, which we've implemented on projects here in the Valley. We've also listed some potential archaeological and historic resources that we could encounter and some hazardous material potentials that could be in the corridor. Homer and I will ensure compliance with the NEPA process and utilize TxDOT's environmental compliance toolkits. One benefit I'd like to highlight is that we could pursue an EA for these projects using TxDOT's EIS to EA classification approval memo. And that would streamline the project schedule and reduce costs while still adhering to the NEPA process. And we successfully accomplished that on the IBTC corridor. As your schematic design task lead, I've developed and delivered hundreds of miles of schematic highway and interstate design. I understand the schematic development process from start to finish. And that means everything from selecting the correct alignment and understanding community and property impacts and coordinating with agencies and utilities and navigating environmental and regulatory requirements. At each step, we'll focus on balancing the technical requirements, stakeholder input, and funding considerations to develop schematics that are practical and that are positioned to be delivered successfully. Shown here at the bottom are the software packages that we utilize, and those do adhere to the project requirements. And of note, we do use 3D modeling that has the ability to identify utility conflicts underground prior to construction, and that's demonstrated and shown in the image to the bottom right. We also have customizable GIS tools that allow active project tracking and parcel tracking, tracking of utility conflicts, and tracking of utility relocations. Items that we'll be coordinating with the RMA and the stakeholders in the corridor, we'll look at multimodal accommodation and, looking at the typical section as a whole. As Homer mentioned, developing a financial plan and looking at funding resources, but keeping in mind being sensitive to stakeholder access and needs. I've successfully delivered projects of the similar scope to this while adhering to all local, state, and federal requirements. And we will look to perform any value engineering workshops or studies that may be required for the corridor. We'll look and make sure that the typical section meets the project goals and objectives for the project, and we'll ensure that there is a seamless integration of that proposed facility into the existing and planned thoroughfares. We would utilize the TxDOT FAR district schematic design checklist, which I would like to note Homer developed in his time at TxDOT when he was there. On the alternatives, the purpose and need must align with the goals and objectives. Homer, Dean, and I will develop a set of reasonable and feasible alternatives, and then we will create an alternatives matrix to help identify the most effective alternatives, and that will be through stakeholder and public engagement. And then we will further refine those through additional stakeholder engagement to develop a preferred alternative. And I would take note that through this entire process, that public involvement, environmental coordination, and agency coordination are performed throughout. And with that, I would like to turn it back over to Homer to discuss some of the items we've identified in the corridors.
Thank you, Denny. While we need to evaluate the system as a whole when working towards a preferred alternative, each section has its own risks and challenges, and we will work to address and mitigate. This first section, A West, our understanding is that that we would be providing review and oversight of the county's consultant that's doing the design in this section. In section C, which we believe is the RMA's highest priority, some key factors that will need to be encountered in that section are the northern terminus or tie-in point will need to be addressed. The crossing of the Rainville main drain will need to be addressed, and this area has limited outfall capability, so that will be a challenge here. 77% of the land is agricultural or undeveloped, which means that there is potential for threatened and endangered species habitat as well. And also the interchange design at both ends of the section will need to be reviewed and addressed to determine whether direct connectors or diamond interchanges should be utilized there. This area will also have a significant utility conflicts. And what we show here on the bottom right of the slide is our initial research that we've done as far as potential utility owners that will likely be encountered in that section. In the top right diagram, on the southern end of section C, we could develop this alternative showing how you could use direct connectors as a possible alternative to connect to I-2 or the US 83 relief route. Section E, which is very similar to section C, the northern terminus, the time point, is going to be a key part of this section as well. In this portion also, we need to address the I-69 connector project that TxDOT is working on right now. It's under development. And the interchange design of both ends, again, we'll need to look at whether direct connectors or diamond interchange work better in that area. And like in all sections, there is going to be potential for threatened and endangered species habitat as well. In this case, also in this area, we'll be crossing the North Floodway and also the Delta Lake Irrigation Canal as well. And this area has dense environmental constraints as shown on the bottom right diagram. And on the top right diagram, it shows a rendering that we did showing how sections E and F could connect there at I-2. And section F, the southeast quadrant of the loop, some of the key factors are going to be the interchange there at I-2. What do we do there, whether direct connectors or a diamond interchange? An IAJR will likely be needed at I-2. An IAJR stands for Interstate Access Justification Report. Anytime you do changes or modifications to an existing interstate, you need to do this report. This section will also have potential for threatened and endangered species habitat. In this section, we'll also encounter two crossings of the floodway. There's also going to be a railroad in this area, Rio Valley Switching Company, which will need to be addressed. And that shows, in the top right diagram, it shows how you could go over the railroad at that location. As far as my similar experience, there are elements similar to the county loop projects that I've worked on before. Like, for example, on the SA-68 project, that was a new location, controlled access facility with extensive public involvement and significant residential impacts and relocations, so much so that it became an EIS, which stands for Environmental Impact Statement, the highest environmental study. And we included a dedicated project office there where residents could come by and look at the schematic, look at the project information, and they could leave comments. And that proved a really valuable source for us. And in that project, we worked with Blanton for the environmental process. On the US 81 interstate upgrade, that was the one from Edinburgh to Falfurrias. It was over 40 miles of 4-lane divided highway being converted to interstate standards, the future I-69C. On that one, there was a large truck percentage of vehicles there. The corridor itself is on the National Freight Highway Network, and we had individual meetings with the property owners of the large ranches that are out there, whose main interest was finding out how are you going to access, or how is our property going to be accessed from this new facility. And also, this area did not have any positive outfalls, there. So we implemented detention facilities to capture the drainage, to help out with the drainage there. And that one, I also worked with Blanton, with Dean Chesmer on that project as well. Speaking of Dean Chesmer, he's our environmental lead, like I mentioned. He has a similar experience, the SA-68 project, and there was significant public controversy, like most of you all know. There was a wildlife crossing involved there as well, and this one was successfully cleared last year in 2024 as an EIS with a record of decision. Dean also worked on the I-69 corridor feasibility study for TxDOT as well, which is very similar to 68. Danny Everett, he worked on the US 83 relief route. The US 83 relief route in Star and Zapata counties. It was 63 miles of converting a 2-lane highway to 4-lane divided. And there was numerous alignment adjustments because there was a lot of threatened endangered plant species along the way. And there was also numerous relief routes around the area to go around developed areas. That one, we had numerous public meetings and meetings with affected property owners, MAPOs, to gain consensus. And we had both urban and rural highway sections as well. And there was IBWC coordination as well. Besides me and Danny, also our QAQC manager, Mark Lawrence, also worked in that project as well. Kurt Killian with Civil Systems Engineering. He's an expert in drainage. He has extensive experience in the whole valley and including Hidalgo County. He's done over 20 studies and reports in this corridor area. So he'll be a resource that we can use, on this project. And he worked on the 365 tollway and the IBTC projects for the RMA. And he also worked on the SA-68 project for Hidalgo County. As far as for Sandy Curry, our Sioux task lead, she worked on the US 83 Star Zapata County project as well, where she worked on the utility identification, designating, and the test holes required in that area. And she worked on the right of entry and environmental coordination. Kyle Sunday is our surveying task lead. He worked on the FM 907 project for the TxDOT FAR district. And he did the right-of-way surveying and mapping for the district. And that one, he also was involved with the right of entry and the landowner coordination. And the map on the right side is very important. It shows a heat map showing all the COP-friendly projects that we've done in Hidalgo County for surveying and Sioux. As far as project management, this is going to be my biggest responsibility as a PM. And my time at TxDOT has allowed me to manage large, similar types of projects. Our proposed project management plan will incorporate all these tasks that are shown here, especially communication protocols, risk management plan, decision logs, and lessons learned logs. My primary role is going to be to serve as a liaison or the main point of contact between the RMA and the project team. And I'm going to be utilizing my local experience, my knowledge, coordination, and relationships that I've developed over the years while working at TxDOT. Thank you. QAQC is an extremely important part of our culture at COP-friendly and all the things that we do. This is why we prioritize QAQC by building milestones into the overall project schedule. We also use Bluebeam, and we also do constructability reviews that the users utilize as ex-TxDOT staff. the project development timeline. This shows the overall project development schedule, and main things to show here is that the schematic and environmental will be done concurrently rather than sequentially. And this will allow us to advance various schematic elements while we do the environmental. This will identify issues early, avoid delays, and make informed decisions before they affect cost or schedule. So as far as why Cobb Finley, I'm a practice PM, experienced PM with over 33 years with TxDOT, where I was a TP&D director, and I coordinated with all the various entities throughout the area, including the RMA. And therefore, I bring unmatched local knowledge and relationships, which will add value and lead to success in the project. We have a local team. This project will be managed from the Cobb Finley McAllen office. We're Hidalgo County residents, and we're deeply tied to the community, and you can be sure that this project will be my sole focus. As far as turnkey solutions, like I mentioned earlier, we offer comprehensive in-house services, and that will benefit the RMA by allowing for tighter control over quality, communication, and schedule, and therefore it'll reduce project risks. That concludes my presentation. I'm ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Bassan. Questions for the directors?
Yeah, I have, if you don't mind, I have a question.
Please.
The first, Homer, thank you very much for being here and your whole team. We appreciate it. When we go to depth of resources, each one of like Alliance and Blanton, are they represented here today?
They're part of our team.
Okay.
They're part of our team, and Cobb Finley is only here in our team right here because that was the requirement that only Cobb Finley be present here for the interview. But yeah, they're important parts of our team.
And I'm sure they're good, but can you explain a little bit of your relationships with them and how maybe, let's say, how you keep their feet to the fire to get projects completed on time? Because that's very important to us, our timeliness and your success of delivery of these projects.
Well, the project schedule is extremely important part of what we do. I mean, we like to say that we meet all the schedules. That's why we have repeat clients, because we meet schedules. So yeah, the schedule is extremely important. We will look at it. We'll be monitoring it, constantly, at the minimum monthly when we submit progress reports. The time that we'll be mentioning if we're on schedule or we're behind, and how we're gonna mitigate that and get back on schedule. So yeah.
What about your relationships, or the business relationships that you have with all these partners here?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned there in that slide, Director, we've had prior working relationships with them, so we have experience, and that's the reason we chose them. They are experts in the area. Like for example, Alliance Transportation, they do. We got them for IHARs specifically, or primarily. So yeah, we their expertise will be utilized.
I've got a question, Director.
Yes, go ahead.
Homer, I guess, what's the approach for reviewing existing documentation and reports that have already been performed on the project in previous years? And how do you integrate that to make sure you're not duplicating any services that maybe have already been done?
Well, that's an important part of the preliminary process, gathering all the data that's available. That's a key part at the beginning. We want to make sure that we're able to gather everything that is available, either hard copies or online, whatever's available. We would like to, make sure we have that information, because that'll be our start. That'll be where we start. So that'll be a challenge, make sure that we again identify all the studies, reports that are out there. This loop has been around for a long time, 20 years, plus. And so there's a lot of information available, and so we would like to get as much as we can of all that's out there.
We have one other question, if I may.
Yes, please.
You mentioned the possibility of doing the EIS to EA memo, I think is what you called it. If we were to be able to do an EA versus an EIS, what kind of time would that save us, just on average?
On average, usually what they mentioned about like EAs or environmental assessments, it takes about like 1.5 to 2 years in the ballpark. EISs, and it varies quite a bit. Like in 68, it took, 68 is an outlier. There's significant public controversy. There are significant, relocations, and there was always
that connection.
Yeah, there was always, and so that took about 10 years.
Wow.
So typically, it takes around 3 or 4 years. That's typical. So we would do all that we could possibly to keep it an EA. Because once it became an EIS, it's more involved. It takes longer. There's no
Right.
doubt about it. So we would do everything and this is a new location facility with 4 lanes or more, which is a criteria for an EIS. But we've been able to get around that in the past, like on the IBTC project. That was new location with over 4 lanes, but we're able to keep that as an EA. That is significant. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions, directors?
Good evening. I'm Zeke Rayner. Thank you for coming. How can I say this nicely? How do we know? What can you tell us about you and your company that you will actually dedicate and commit the actual resources of your presentation?
Mhm.
Because you can understand
Yeah.
that we hear this all the time, right?
Yes.
My question to you is, how do we know that you will actually commit to your presentation now, a year, 3 or 4 or 5 years from now?
And I understand that's a very valid concern. Obviously, it's a big commitment on your part, selecting the right firm, the right team. So, we have a local office here. We have a deep bench of resources, like I mentioned. We have resources throughout, not just in McAllen, but elsewhere, that we could be utilized. And like I mentioned, quality is very important to Cobb Finley. We believe in that significantly. We believe in keeping projects on schedule. So, yeah, we just have that commitment that we can do. And again, Worth can add to that.
If I could just jump in, my name is Dan Wolf. Good evening. As the project principal, that's my job. Homer is committed to this project. We invested in an office down here 6 years ago. Our commitment to this community and our commitment to Hidalgo County started back then. And we're looking for these types of projects to get involved in. We want to do long-term projects. Our company, one of our mission for the company is that we're committed resources where we do live. So that's what we mentioned, resources. Our employees that live in this community, in this county, they will continue to be allocated to this project. Obviously, our commitment is to grow our local office. And the folks that you see here tonight are committed to this project. If there's other resources that we need as the principal, it's my job to be sure that we allocate resources. Okay. And those resources could be people. Obviously, you asked about our relationships with our teaming partners. They have resources. We work with our resources before, our teaming partners. And it's really important that we continue to have those relationships with them because we thrive when they thrive. And so we work very well together. We communicate and keep our projects integrated in a way that, we know how to work with them. There's no miscommunication. We work before, know how to work with them. And so it's a big team. I think Homer mentioned that there's over 260 resources that we've identified. That's a very large team. They all have unique expertise, and we'll allocate those resources as we need them when their expertise is needed. So, it's a commitment we make. Homer's our local lead for our office. He doesn't have any other commitments that he's working on other than focusing on what's going on in the valley and what's going on in his office. And this is obviously a very large project that we need to be dedicating our resources to going forward for that long term. And it is going to be a long term commitment that we make to RMA.
Thank you for that. And I don't know how we are on time, but let's assume I haven't 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to jump in and have a question. And Homer, I'll direct it to you.
Sure.
I mean, you can have anyone answer it. Could you speak to the stakeholders, one of which is ourselves, the RMA? You've got, as of late, you heard TxDOT just had, the input or the presentations for State Loop 195 that's coming in,
Yes.
east to west. You've got 68 that obviously you're familiar with, and where exactly is that going to connect? You've got what our strategic plan says, the RMA's vision is for the loop. Speak to all of us, and I'd like to hear you make some comments because obviously all of that must impact one another. I mean, there has to be some sense of coordination or some sense of well, coordination. So let me hear you just talk to not me, not necessarily us, but to the community and to all of us from your perspective.
Well, I mean, stakeholders, Chairman, is an extremely important part of the development of the project. I mean, that's key that you get the stakeholders involved early to keep them engaged, you know, because that's the more engagement we get, the more information we get from them, the better decisions we can make. And because you're right, though, like State Loop 195 is a brand new consideration, a brand new project that TxDOT has in their, you know, in their horizon down the road. We need to coordinate with them, you know. So, you know, we showed the map of TxDOT. Obviously, TxDOT is a big, you know, is a big stakeholder down here because they have so many planned thoroughfares in the future. So we need to make sure that this loop segments are able to accommodate all those loop segments that are, you know, all those thoroughfares that TxDOT has planned in the future. We need to make something that, you know, that you know, that'll be you know, proactive instead of reacting later on and say, oh, okay, we need to do something here because this project came in. We need to learn as much from them and engage with them, for example, and get their information.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think that buzzer tells us that we're at the end of time. Again, I very much, on behalf of the RMA and all the directors, we thank you for your interest. We thank you for your time and what it's taken to put this project together. And we wish you all the best. And thank you for what you do in our community.
Thank you very much.
Merry
Thank you
Christmas
all.
to y'all.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Chairman, Directors, the last firm that you will interview is Entech.
Good evening, Intech. And welcome. Just as a quick reminder, we've got a 20-minute presentation followed by 10 minutes of questions and answers, if there are any. And thank you for being here, and I'll turn it over to you. We do have a hard copy as well as a presentation here, and we can follow along.
Let me, is it okay we use a timer ourselves? Okay, you got the timer. Okay. Oh, Roger.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for allowing us to be here to give this presentation. My name is Roger Gonzalez. I am with Intech Civil Engineers. I will be the project manager for this project, should we be fortunate enough to be selected. With me, I have Miguel Ponce, who is the deputy project manager for this project, but he's also the principal, one of the principals of Intech. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Miguel to start the presentation.
I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and where Intech has been historically, just to let you know. But on behalf of Intech and all their sub-consultants, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity. We don't take this lightly. We know this is an important project for the RMA. I've been with Intech for the past 25 years. All my experience has been in transportation for the past 35 years. I worked for TxDOT for 10, and that's all I've done is transportation engineering. So these are the kind of projects that, and I'm going to help Roger. My role is to be the deputy PM. Intech has headquarters in Houston. We have a branch office in Austin, and we also want to commit to you that if we're successful with this project, we commit to you that we will start an office here in the Valley. Our founders in 1999 are Tony and Nick Alanis. They both have over 35 years of experience. They started a practice to completely do all of transportation engineering. It's a full service firm that helps all government agencies complete their infrastructure projects. Our company has grown quite a bit since 1999. It's now up to 130 employees. And currently, we're one of the largest or the largest Hispanic company doing transportation in the state of Texas. We're proud of that fact. Our clients, we've done work in 25 districts of the DOT. We've done over 400 projects. Locally, we've done projects in FAR. We've done projects just like yours here, schematic and environmental development. We've done FM 3248, 1426, US 281, Hidalgo Loop Review. I'll talk a little bit about those. And also we do design. So our company does planning, design, and construction. So we know every phase of project development. PS&E and CEI, we've done projects also locally here. I want to highlight a couple of the other districts that are border districts, just like FAR is for the RMA. We've done projects in El Paso. We've done more than this, but I want to highlight this particular project. The Southern Relief Route consisted of a project that had toll lanes along I-10. This was a feasibility study, mobility study. The study consisted of taking the Turnpike Authority's project and reviewing it and the concepts for tolling. So we came back and decided the area didn't like tolls. So the project ended up went from tolls to managed lanes. So we completed that project for the district, and then Zaragoza is by the border also. It has an international bridge. There's truck traffic. We did the schematic, the environmental. It was approved. It's completed. It's currently they're purchasing right away at this time. Another project, another border district in Laredo. We're the engineer of choice in Laredo. We've done projects there, many projects. The one I want to highlight is segment 5. It's a 10-mile project, 850 miles or $850 million. We are constructing 6 lanes on that highway. We're doing schematic and environmental, completed that for the district. And currently we're in PS&E on that project. On US 59, I-69, same thing. It starts at the World Trade International Bridge. Also completed schematic and completed an environmental document. So we deliver, gentlemen, we deliver. In the FAR district, we're doing our marquee job. One of the FAR district employees is here. It's 281. It's 40 miles of reconstruction of 281, which is the future Interstate 69. We've completed a schematic on the phase, one of the phases of the schematic, has an environmental document completed and approved, and we're currently at 95% of the PS&E. On that project, there's no funding to do the 40 miles. So we're actually doing about 16 miles currently of that project, and that is at 95%, waiting to just be let to contract. The Hidalgo Loop, we actually have worked on. NTEC has worked on that early on when they were doing State Highway 365 and IBTC. The district, the local district, the FAR district had us review, a third party reviewing the schematics for those portions of that project. So we did do some of that work also. A little bit about our service lines. Just want to highlight a couple of the people there. We have bridge designers. Lloyd, with 35 years, leads that group. We have Sandy Polanini with the H&H. It's important on your project. Drainage is very important. She can handle that. We have Ruben, who does utility coordination. He gets utilities out of the way and makes sure that our agreements are completed. And then we have Eddie that does program management, and he helps us with funding. Roger will talk a little bit more about that. Also, I want to just give you a small glance of our NTEC team. We have local firms that actually have offices here. We have Meldon Hunt, JDJ, KCI, B2Z, SAMS, and Rods. They're all local to the area. So with our experience in those firms, we can do the job for you. I also want to elude a couple of the task leads. We have Robert Macheska that's done work. These people have done work locally here and actually have done it for the first part of your project. Dean Tessner also did environmental. We have Robert Ryan that has done public involvement also on your current project. And Jose Saldivar, who's a drainage expert here locally with the drainage district. We also have Lane Lees, who's done Sue. Sue is very important. We can't skimp on finding out where those utilities are. So Sue is very important. And now I'll let Roger talk about his experience and how he approaches the project.
Thank you, Miguel. Again, my name is Roger Gonzalez. I'll be the project manager for this project. I have over 35 years of experience. 28 of those years have been at TxDOT, where I retired as manager of the project development section. And I've also done work for rural, urban, and suburban districts. After retirement, I joined Intech and have worked on 11 different districts across the state. I've completed 6 different planning and environmental studies, basically called major investment studies or preliminary environmental linkage studies. And I've completed over 30 schematics and have worked on multiple 35-mile plus corridors. I am also very active in the public involvement aspects of any project. As you can see here in this bottom image here, I'm talking to one of the city council members in Laredo on the FM 1472 project, as well as with Epi Gonzalez on some of these public meetings that we had there. I actually had to give a presentation in Spanish to the non-English speaking attendees at the public meeting. These are some of my similar projects that I've worked on. I've worked on projects that go from feasibility, schematic, environmental, all the way to PS&E. I like to focus on 2 projects. Well, one that I like to mention briefly, the NASA bypass. That was a new location project. It went through a lot of pipelines and utilities, which we will anticipate that would be the case on your project. But also the Grand Parkway. The Grand Parkway is the loop around Houston. It's the outer loop for the region. And on that particular project, we went through a lot of landowners, large landowner properties. We had utility issues. We had wetlands, environmental concerns, and we also had funding issues on that. So we anticipate that these same issues are going to be the issues that we're going to encounter on your project. And we're ready to address those issues just like we were on the Grand Parkway. FM 1472 is a project in Laredo. If you may be familiar with it, it's called Mines Road. It comes right out of the International Bridge, the World Trade Bridge. On this particular project, there is a lot of truck traffic coming from the across the border. There's a lot of distribution centers in there, and there's a lot of major property owners in there. We have to work with these individuals, educate them on the need for the project. One of the key stakeholders in that area was actually the Killam families, who owns a lot of property in Laredo. In addition to that, this was a 4-lane rural type facility. So what we recommended was to upgrade this to a 6-lane control access facility to a freeway section. In doing that, we also improved the connectivity to the major arterials. But not only that, we also made provisions for any future interchanges, which we anticipate will be the case on this project. On your project, we're going to be working with TxDOT to identify where there's any future crossings to make provisions for future interchanges. Because what we don't want is to be locked in the future and you're not going to be able to expand, where it's going to be very costly to expand. So we keep all that in mind as we go through the design phase of the project. Also, stakeholder opposition, because we're having to get additional right-of-way, we have to educate the public on the need for the additional right-of-way. Here we are, funding was another issue for this project. So working with elected officials from the federal government all the way down to the local. As you can see here in this bottom image, I'm talking with Congressman Cuellar, telling them about the project, educating them about the project and the need for funding. So through him, we're able to get, we're trying to secure federal funding for this project. The mayor of Laredo was also in attendance, and he also became a supporter of this project. 3248, a project in the FAR district in the Brownsville, right? This project had a lot of issues, a lot of accidents because it's a 5-lane section. So you had a lot of, on the continuous left turn lane, which is center lane, there were a lot of fatalities, a lot of accidents, right? So to avoid that, we propose to do it in a 6-lane section with pedestrian facilities, but also putting a raised median in the middle to prevent those head-on accidents. There was a lot of opposition to it because of that reason, right? You have access, you have businesses. There was a hospital, there was a fire department, there were 2 schools that we had to work with, educate them on the need to do this to reduce the number of accidents along the corridor. So we had a lot of public involvement on that particular project. Also, this is another example where I also had to give a presentation in Spanish to the non-speaking English residents of the community. We also had support from the newspaper, right? So we met with them, we educated them on the need, they became a supporter of the project. Project approach. On any project, you have to have an approach. And this is an approach that I've used in the past years on all my projects. We start off by putting together a robust, strong project management program. You start off with initiation of the project, you move on to the planning, on into the execution, you monitor the project, and you ultimately close it. During the initial phase, we do the scoping and put together the schedule for the project. Once you go through the initiation, you go on to the planning the project out. So we come out with a quality control plan, the QAQC plan. We put together a robust communication plan, both for internal and external use, right? We also put together a staffing plan and a financial plan, which will be very important on this particular project due to the funding. Then we start the execution. We do that by putting together a list of deliverables, for example, meeting with the client PM to go over the deliverables and make sure we're all on the same page. From there, we go on to monitoring and controlling the project. We do that by having weekly project meetings, right? See where we're at on the project, see the progress of the project, meeting with our client PM to make sure the project is moving forward. That goes along with the schedule review, weekly reviews of the schedule to see if we're on target or not on target. What do we have to do to bring it back on target? So these are some of the things that we would do. We will also identify any risk for the project. Risks are very important to identify because you don't want to get behind on your schedule because something has come up because you didn't foresee it or you didn't anticipate it. So I have a tendency of doing that and coming up with the mitigation plan to avoid any risk on any of the projects I've worked on. The project development process, again, I've got over 30-some schematics. This is a process that I use. We start off with the feasibility, but at the same time, we have the environmental going on. So there's going to be a lot of tasks that are going to be going on concurrently, right? For the environmental, we're going to have a scoping meeting to determine if there's going to be an environmental document required for this project. There may not be, right? So scoping meeting will be very important to have. After the feasibility, you do the development alternatives, then you go into the schematic design, the geometrics, where you establish your footprint for the schematic, put into your designs. Ultimately, you're going to go and get approval of your schematic, but while that's going on, environmental is going on too. So at the end, you have a FONSI, a finding of no significant impact on the project. But in addition to that, we also have the middle part that's going on at the same time, the surveying. Once you establish what your right-of-way footprint is, you can start your right-of-way mapping, right? Then you can do your traffic analysis to determine if the number of lanes that you're proposing is adequate to handle the traffic for the future, not today, the future, right? So we have to be very careful and make sure that we're addressing that. H&H drainage. We know there's a lot of flooding issues on here. We're going to be crossing some floodplains. So the H&H is going to be very important to address early on in the project. The same thing with utilities. I'm sure there's a lot of utilities out here, a lot of pipelines going through here. What we don't want is get to the end, we found a utility that we missed. We can't have that. We have to make sure that all the utilities are identified throughout the corridor. While all that's going on, we're going to have continuous public involvement with the stakeholders, elected officials, and ultimately take this to a 30% PSNE design. Special considerations. We know that funding is going to be initial on this particular project. So we're going to help identify funding sources for this project. We would look at Tiger grants. We would also look at tax increment reinvestment zones for this project. We will also look at the state infrastructure bank. We will look for bonds such as the TAP, right? We're also going to look at other loans such as the TIFIA loans. These are loans that we have used on other projects. For example, on the Grand Parkway, we use bonds. We use the PAB, private activity bonds, right? So that's how the Grand Parkway was done, in addition to land donations. We're also going to look at other funding opportunities, and we're going to be proactive in helping the RMA apply for these loans. As Miguel mentioned earlier, we have people who do this, who have done this. Eddie Sanchez, who's a former district engineer in El Paso, knows the problems with the border town. He is instrumental in finding and getting funding also.
So he's going to be assisting us on this project on the funding source. He was the lead person for the Grand Parkway for the funding for the Houston district, TxDOT district in Houston. Okay, we're also going to be partnering with local agencies, with the cities to see how we can leverage with them to get funding for the project. Right-of-way is an important aspect of this project because we're going to new location. What we're going to try to do is look for existing alignments, existing roadways, where we can put the road through there, minimize right-of-way, not acquire additional right-of-way. And the areas that we do need to do that, we were going to minimize the right-of-way footprint in those particular areas. We're also going to do like we did on the Grand Parkway, is possibly look for land donations because it's going to benefit the landowners, right? So that's the approach that we took on the Grand Parkway in Houston. It's been very successful. If you know about the Grand Parkway, it's basically all built out already. On the technical overview, we know that this is a loop around the county of Hidalgo, but we also know that there's an area between 2993 and FM 493 that's either under development, design-wise, has been completed, or is currently under construction. So from that, we know that the remaining portion of this, which is Section A, Section C, Section E, and Section F, right? And we know that there's a lot of issues on these particular areas. So some of the design considerations we will take into effect are the feasibility, setting the alignment, minimizing the right-of-way. We're going to be looking at the geometric, identifying again the utilities in area to avoid any conflicts. We're also going to be doing the surveying. Once the footprint is done for the schematic, you can start doing the right-of-way mapping, right? So then we're also going to be doing the traffic analysis to make sure we got the right number of lanes out there and the drainage. Some of the design considerations will be this could possibly be a hurricane evacuation route. We know you're in the coast, could be a hurricane evacuation route, so we'll take that into account. We'll look at evaluating the alignments, the drainage. As I mentioned, we're going to be working with the drainage districts. This will be a control access facility. Connectivity to major arteries, as I mentioned to you earlier, we're going to work with TxDOT to make provisions for that. Ramp location is very important. We may have to do a toll revenue study to determine what's the best location for your ramp so you can maximize the number of toll revenue for the corridor. Construction costs through a value engineering. Value engineering, we're going to look and see how we can cut costs on the design of the project, which ultimately goes to construction, right? So we do that at a 30 or 60% design. So we're not at 100% and then having to go back and change everything over again. My experience has always been it's better to do it earlier rather than late. So I will recommend doing the VE early. In addition to that, we're also going to be looking at phasing this project. Do we really need 4 lanes at the beginning? Maybe we can do 2 lanes in each direction. Once your revenue comes in, then you can expand it to 4 lanes and attract more traffic that way. Those are some things we'll be looking at. On the environmental side, we're going to be cautious of the waters of the U.S. I know we're crossing some floodplains, so waters of the U.S. will be important. The same thing with the floodplains. For the environmental, we're going to be looking at the habitat, right? We know that there's a wildlife refuge area or state park right there in Section A, so we're going to be careful avoiding a lot of those impacts to those areas so it doesn't delay your project. We're also going to be looking at the archaeological and the historical structures in the area, right, to avoid those. But more importantly, we're also going to be looking at the utilities, make sure we pick up all the utilities early on so that we can avoid those conflicts as we go forward. Then you got the floodplain there, right? So we're going to be crossing the floodplain. We're going to look to see about realigning it so they have minimize the impacts to the floodplain. So we're going to be cautious of all those issues there. Stakeholder considerations. We know we have a lot of cities in here, different sections of that. We're going to be working with the cities. We're going to be working with the public. We're going to be working with the major landowners, such as the Burns, right, to educate them on the need for this project and move this project forward.
Just to be fair
And
to
why
everyone, I
Intech?
think I want to be fair to everybody, and I think we need to wrap up. We're down to the end, time-wise is up. So
Okay.
give you, out of a courtesy, take the next 30 seconds and wrap it up.
Okay, so just to summarize it, our team has over 30 available staff members. We have a previous history of work on this project. As Miguel mentioned to you earlier, we have staff on this team that lives here, has local presence, local knowledge, and has worked on this project. And more importantly, we have experience in funding and have delivered projects that lack funding where we're able to get funding for those projects. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time and thank you for allowing us to give our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Okay, now we've got some minutes for questions. I'll turn it over to the directors. Anybody want to start?
What's a
Mayor Joe?
Tiger grant?
Tiger grants are grants that the federal government has to do certain infrastructure projects. Give you an example. In Houston, for example, they're used a lot for pedestrians, sidewalks and stuff like that, but they can also be used for other infrastructure needs in the corridor. And, you know, yeah, they're all tied to federal funds.
Okay.
You're talking about that NASA
Bypass?
bypass?
Yes.
You said you were almost complete or completed?
No, that's already been completed. It's already open.
Mhm.
If y'all familiar with the area, existing NASA will go straight down the middle. But because of the congestion, you need to widen it. To widen it, you're gonna wipe out the tax base, right? Because it's full of businesses. So when you're doing the design, you gotta take all this in account, right? You can't just do the engineering. You gotta think of the impacts, the economics, and all that other stuff to the businesses, to the schools, and the infrastructure that's there already. So on that particular project, we realized we couldn't do that, right? We couldn't wipe out a tax base. So we look at a new location which is the bypass going around the city of Webster. It was the city of Webster. If you're familiar with it, 45 goes into Webster, and that's the bypass which leads to Johnson Space Center, right?
Yeah.
So we came up with the bypass. So if y'all been out there and you've driven this bypass, which is kind of a freeway, I was a PM on that project.
Right.
And we had a lot of issues, utility issues, pipelines. There's a tank farm, right? So, you know, we have the experience to do these type of projects.
Challenging project.
That's 13 miles. What was the timeframe on that?
On that particular project,
The-
to go from schematic design or preliminary engineering to construction, it was about a 5-year time period. Okay, and the reason for that is because there was hazmat, there was a Superfund site. They had to go in there and they had to clean it up. We had to do a phase 1 site assessment, and then we did end up doing a phase 2 site assessment where they had to go in there and clean up. As I mentioned, there's a lot of pipelines, and there is a tank farms, a couple of those storage tanks, and there was leakage and getting to the groundwater and so forth. So that's why it took so long for that
Director
reason.
Javier, you had a question?
And by the way, if I may, on that particular project, we also got land donated for that project and working with the landowner, which cuts the cost.
Yeah, sure.
What's your percentage-wise, your projects that you've handled come in on time? How many have been delayed past what you proposed? And how many of them resulted in litigation?
Okay, let me say this. None of my projects have gone to litigation. And again, I'm on the schematic phase, but none of my projects have gone to litigation, okay? In terms of being on time, there's being on time, and then there's things that are out of your control, like the NASA bypass, right? Where you end up with Superfund site. Well, it's kind of out of your hands because you have to go through EPA and the government regulations and everything else. But most of my projects, there's a little few exceptions, have always been on time. Okay, I did the Galveston Causeway. I was a PM on the Galveston Causeway, for example, right? We have to work with the Coast Guard. We have to work with a lot of governmental agencies, right? So working with governmental agencies does kind of slow things down a little bit, right? But for example, the Causeway project, that project went to construction in 6 years, right? And that's because one of the things that we were trying to do is use the bridge section as a reef. So when it was demolished or it was cut, it was just put in the ground. So there had to be a lot of cleanup, right? You had to clean the surface of the bridge and everything to be able to lower it into the Gulf, right? So we're doing those kind of things.
So, Entech, like I said, Entech has been in business for 26 years. And Mr. Peña, we've never had an issue with having to use our errors and omissions, but once. And it had to do with a bridge that we were jacking higher. We left the bridge, we were jacking the bridge, and the contractor came back and it made a claim. And so our client said, hey, this is your problem. And we thought we were going to go into litigation, but we were able to solve. Our structural engineer, Lloyd Wolf, was able to solve it without an issue. And we took on the responsibility because we were the engineer of record, and the engineer of record takes on the responsibility. And definitely we were able to work out that problem without any litigation. But that's the closest one we've had in 26 years. So we've been lucky.
I do have a question.
Yes,
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, here we go. We all know that what makes the world go around is money.
I'm sorry?
What makes the world go around is money, 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 money. And it's interesting that you put funding considerations here and you spoke somewhat about it.
Yes.
Even though it may have not been in the criteria, I'm not so sure, but the question that I have is, yeah, tell us what is your involvement to us, if in fact you're making a statement to us that you can assist in the funding of this project? Because that is what makes us go, right?
Sure.
We can't hire you, we don't have money.
Sure.
And what is your arm? What department do you have, or what commitment do you have within your company to assist this particular project in the funding process?
Okay, so I'm always conscious of the funding. Having worked at TechStop for 28 years, the money's not there, right? They go through a process of getting the funding for the project. There's different categories. And I don't care what project it is. Funding is always an issue, right? So that's why you go back and you do a value engineering. Where can you maintain the same quality, but cutting back on the cost of the project, right? So this project, it's a massive project. Let's be honest, right? It's a big loop, right? Money's not just sitting there. But we know from our experience, for example, on the Grand Parkway, right? Are y'all familiar with the Grand Parkway in Houston by chance? Okay,
Very
it's the
little.
99, right? It makes the big loop. It goes through 3 or 4 different counties, right? There wasn't money for that project. But we were determined to get the project done. We looked for funding. As I mentioned to you, the private activity bonds, Eddie Sanchez led that effort for the Houston district to do that. I was involved in some of the funding in the background. And we know that there is always that issue with funding, the NASA bypass. We didn't anticipate that there was going to be a super fund side, right? So where are you going to get the money to do that, right? So at least I am conscious of the money situation, having worked at TechStat. And I work very closely with our TP&D director. If you're familiar with TP&D and TechStat, they're the ones who secure the funding. They are the ones who prioritize the projects based on funding, right? So I work very closely with them. And we do have a staff member who was the assistant director to TP&D and knows the funding aspects. We have Eddie Sanchez, also former district engineer, who knows about the funding, as I mentioned to you earlier.
Yes, sir, but my question is this. This not part of the criteria. You're saying that you're taking this on your own?
No, what I'm saying is that I went willing to help the RMA.
Yes, well, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, that you will participate in
Yes, I will
assisting?
participate in helping apply for funding, grants, bonds, or whatever, right? Help the RMA secure funding for your project.
And you're telling us you've done this before?
Yes, I have been.
Successfully?
I have been involved in it. I wasn't the head person doing this, but people like Eddie Sanchez, who had led that effort. We also had Sandy, who worked for the San Antonio Water Authority. She's done a lot of funding. The city of Pasadena, she's recently.
Where are you from, Mr. Gonzalez?
I'm sorry, where I'm from? I was
Yes.
born in Monterrey.
Now, where are you from now? Where do you live?
I'm sorry,
Where do you live now?
Houston.
And most of your companies from Houston, Miguel?
That's where our headquarters is.
Okay. And the concern that we have is sometimes we're way down here. People don't listen to us, although they started looking at us 10, 15 years ago down here in the valley. So that is very important to us. And I just wanted to make sure that I was in tune exactly what your statement was about. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Pilar, how are we doing on time? Got another minute? Well, let me toss this one in there. and this is somewhat open-ended, abstract, I guess, but tell me something. How much of the work that you've done is sitting on a shelf somewhere and the project's not done?
Okay. Laredo, 1472 is one that we're actually going back and we're going to extend that project, but funding is a source. As you all know, TxDOT is going through a budget situation right now. So that particular project is sitting there right now because of the funding, the TxDOT funding situation, okay? I've recently completed, if you're familiar with the Houston, State Highway 225 runs down Pasadena where all the refineries are. That included the Chip Channel Bridge going over the Channel 610, right, and 146. That project's already been completed and it's moving forward into schematic design. So my projects move forward because it goes into the next phase of project development, which is PSNE. Your project would do the same thing, right? You're doing the schematic environmental document for right now. The next phase would be right-of-way acquisition and a PSNE going into the detailed design. So when you say are sitting on the shelf, that's after our group, schematic group, has finished doing the design for the schematic and getting the approval for that and for the environmental document.
Mm.
Without the approval of an environmental document, you don't have a project.
Right, right.
Right? So that is our goal, our mission, is to get approval for both documents, the schematic and the environmental document.
Also, Mr. Lozano, these projects that we've done programs quite a bit too, and it's just not one project. It's like your Hidalgo Loop. You have to have an implementation plan. We can help you with that. In order to implement it, you got to have the money. You can do this first. What's the highest priority? Where can you get things done? What's the path of least resistance? What can we get done? You know, those things will provide an implementation plan for you so that you can look at it and see, does this work? And of course, that's going to, we're going to be doing the stakeholders, public involvement and making sure that everybody there's consensus. And I can tell you this about Roger, he's a consensus builder.
Yeah.
That's why we put him on this job. Thank
Okay,
you.
gentlemen, thank you.
Let me just say one thing. We're currently working on the Beltway project for HECRA, the Toll Road Authority. I worked on it when that project first started when I was at TxDOT. First, you did the frontage roads, HECRA came back and did the main lanes, right? But they didn't do it all at one time. They came back, they did it in phases, right? There's still a section right now that's under construction after how many years? 20 years, 25 years? That's under construction for the main lanes, right? And this is something that the RMA can do on this particular project. As Michael said, prioritize the segments.
Yep.
And we have experience in doing that.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate your approach. I appreciate your interest in the project and what you've done and in our community and your interest in this particular project. So at this point, Pilar, then let's get everybody in, correct? Yeah. Yep.
But aren't you gonna give us 5 minutes to break?
Yeah.
We can do that on the table item.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'll tell everybody. No, thank you. We're gonna invite everyone back in. Mhm. Yes, this is the workshop. We will, yeah, we need a motion to adjourn. Okay, we've got a motion to adjourn the workshop.
Second.
Second, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, then moving on, I'll call to order and establish a quorum for the special meeting. Pilar?
Chairman, you have a quorum, 6 members present.
All righty. Any public comment?
No, sir, we do not have any public comment.
No public comment. Okay. Item 2 under regular agenda, the tabled item.
Yes, sir,
Turn it
Chairman,
over.
recommend you entertain a motion to untable this item.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. It's untabled.
Yes, sir. So, Chairman, item
Chairman, I'll-
4A.
I'll go ahead and move for approval of resolution 2025-63 as being recommended by staff.
Second.
Is that correct?
Yes, but I think you had that vote already, Director.
Excuse me?
To untable the item was,
No, that's been voted. Now I'm voting we voted on the issue now?
well, we're going to do the rating and ranking.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yes.
give me just a moment on that. And so, at this point, again, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your interest in what the RMA is trying to accomplish here. And what you have already done in our community and what I know y'all will, each of you, continue to do in our community. At this point, it comes, as you know, the process has been one that we've had a great deal of input, not only from staff, but it was determined that we wanted to go through this process. And I can say, just from where I sit, that I'm very happy that we did. And again, I'm appreciative of the time that you've taken to get here and to get through it with us. And so we're going to pause for just a moment here, take just a few minutes, and we're going to go, each of us, through our ranking process, and then we'll turn those in to staff.
Mr. Chairman, the way I'm reading the resolution here is that this is given the consideration and authorization for staff to continue. And based on the scorings that we have, we don't have to announce in public at this point in time, do we?
Yes, sir, we do. You have to publicly announce it. Yes, sir. So what the next step is that the board rates and ranks your firms. Each one of you has a rating and ranking sheet, and you will rate your number 1 firm, number 2, and number 3 firm. Our attorney will pick them up and tabulate them, and then we will announce the board's ranking of the 3 firms that were interviewed. And then based on that, staff will recommend that you authorize us to negotiate with the top ranked firm. And then if we're unsuccessful, that we be allowed to negotiate with the second top ranked firm.
Yeah. Let me make sure and be clear. That's the process. That's the process that was set up and that we understand we need to follow. And that's because we untabled the item and are moving forward. And I want to make sure that directors, everyone's good with that and that we do continue the process. To the extent that's the case, then let's please take a few minutes and get your ranking sheets turned in. Let's take, it's all fresh on our mind. We just went through it. We've had the binders, we've had the books, we've asked a lot of questions. We've had several, I want to tell the audience and each of y'all that the directors have taken this really seriously. And we've, as y'all know, it was part of one of our regularly scheduled meetings, complete with some executive session discussion, et cetera. And so the time now is to get the ranking done, and we'll get those turned in momentarily.
Just to be clear, that was just ranking 1, 2, and 3, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're going to do is tabulate and get the composite score based on all the.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, y'all, I presume, are familiar with this type of process and something you go through perhaps regularly. It's not something that in my 1-year tenure that I've personally done here. But again, it's I've said this before and I'll say again, I'm very appreciative of all the directors that are sitting here and going through the process. And it's, everybody, we got a really good board on the RMA right now. And I'm really looking forward to what it is that we will do in the future together. um, s- s- Together with at least one of you a little bit more closer than the others. But again, all of y'all are involved in this community. I thank you for the interest in the community. I thank you for what it is that you're doing again. And we'll see how this turns out and move on from here. We don't have any gold buzzers or anything like that that we can. I'm just going to say this as we're waiting on this. This is a tough process. I mean, your firms, you have a lot to be proud of, and I'm very impressed with everybody. Very impressed with the process. Impressed with the professionalism, and impressed with what y'all turned in. And I find it very interesting. And again, thanks. The thought occurs to me, and I'll go ahead and mention this. It's a public record and in the news. It's pretty big news around here, but our executive director, Mr. Pilar, here has, together with the board, he's moving on from his position here as executive director. Over a dozen years now, the work that he's helped lead here, we're very appreciative of what he's done. But I say all of that to say, one, please, each of y'all, thank him for me and for all of us for Pilar's service to his community. But I also say this because I have a hunch that you may know someone. Our website is has got the posting on, you go to our website for any interested individuals that may choose to apply, and we're looking. That's our next process. So I thought I'd mention that to us. So wish us well there too, and please do wish Pilar well. He's agreed to carry us through this process all the while that we have work going on right now, work that we're hoping to do tomorrow, and he's not going very far because he's also full time here in the community. So he's really given back in a big way. And so again, I'll mention that. So please thank him for me. And thank you, Pilar. So tabulating right now, right? Well, how long does it take to add up?
You're asking a lawyer to do math.
I've got a calculator.
Engineers to do the math, not a lawyer.
Okay. It must be the engineer, right? Because it can't be the lawyer.
Con calma, Mr. Chair, con calma.
Right.
Take it easy. Here they are.
Okay, Chairman, based on the scores, staff recommends you entertain a motion to authorize staff to negotiate with the top-ranked firm, which is Consor, and if we're unsuccessful, to negotiate with the second top-ranked firm, which is Cobb Finley.
So move.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. Looking back at the agenda then,
We have no further
no
items for your-
further action.
Motion to adjourn.
I've got a
Second.
motion to adjourn in a second. Merry Christmas, everyone, and again, thank you, everybody. We stand adjourned.